Next, I want to walk you through two use cases that are near and dear to my heart, and that is automating the NPS process. In many companies, this is a manual process where you have to decide when to trigger it, who you're going to send it to, and while it's not a big pain, it can add up over time. And just like anything, if you have to do it manually more than 3 times, you should probably invest the time to automate it so you don't have to think about it. So the first is this, and that is, why don't you just trigger an NPS survey based on a stage change in Salesforce? So when an opportunity goes to closed won, and then maybe you have a little delay in there before you send the survey, and then you can have your survey getting triggered as you're closing new business, or really based on any stage. So for this, I'm going to share my screen. I'll walk you through a couple of the Tray workflows here. So first, we'll take a look at this one, NPS survey via promoter.io. We happen to use Promoter, but there's lots of different NPS survey software out there, but we do like Promoter. It works well for us. So, this is a pretty easy one. We just have a scheduled trigger here, and we make sure we're setting the current time. And the way we've decided to manage our NPS is to send it a month after we win a deal in Salesforce. So what you see here with the date time helper is just a way to add in a delay step and a timeout, basically to schedule out when you want to send it after a certain event changes. We also have these handy-dandy date time helpers. So we use these when the date stamp coming out of Salesforce is a different format than the date stamp that Promoter uses. And it's important to get these things exactly right, so that way the data integrity remains clean. And if you were to do this manually, you'd be having to use Excel and concatenate and doing a lot of manual data manipulation. And here we've just been able to automate it with a helper. Next, we're going to get closed won opportunities, as we said, and we're going to go through each one that gets closed won, and we're going to look for their contact roles. Usually we send this to primary contact roles in Salesforce, but you could choose any number of contact roles. And as we go through and get contact roles, we check to see if we've already sent them a survey. And we put these steps in as a just in case, because sometimes before we put this workflow in, we'd been sending surveys based on some different logic. So again, we're just checking to see if a survey was already sent. If it's true, we get the account out of Salesforce, we make sure it's the correct account, and then we send the Promoter survey, which is really the end step we're looking for. So we did a couple logic checks to make sure that we're sending the survey to the right person based on the right field change in Salesforce, and lo and behold, send the survey out via Promoter. So pretty easy stuff. And what I want to show you next is a different use case here. And what I'll show you is the next one is near and dear to my heart, because I really struggled with my last couple companies. And the situation is to get that NPS score out of Promoter and back into Salesforce. And there's reasons to do this for both marketing and support. Obviously your marketing team wants to know who's your happiest customers, and your support team wants to know the churn risk customers. And so I set up this webinar myself, and so I'm not a coder. I've no coding degrees, and I could do this myself. I happen to use a webhook to Promoter, and webhook is just a way for Tray to sync up with Promoter. So any data changes in your account of Promoter will trigger a workflow in Salesforce. So if we get a survey result back, it knows to automatically update Trey, which will automatically update Salesforce as data streams in. And again, this is real time, no delay. It's instant gratification. And what I'm about to show you is actually probably a little bit more complex than what you might need. But the reason why we have a little bit of added complexity is we happen to survey not only new customers, but also people in the trial, the trial program. And that's why we are checking to see if the survey response is coming from a lead or a contact, and a contact being an opportunity lead being someone that's likely in the trial. So we just use the same if-then logic that Andrew has shown you, the Boolean, and we try to figure out that response if it's a contact or a lead. And if it happens to be a contact, that the contact exists, very simple, update the contact with the NPS score. And here we're taking 3 pieces from the NPS survey. We're taking the actual score. This is usually the 0 through 10 score. We're pulling over the customer satisfaction comment, that's free text that we send within the survey. And then we also keep track of the customer sat response date, so we know how long it's been since the last time they filled out a customer sat survey with an NPS score. And that's it. If it happens to be a lead, there's a couple other steps we want to do, like get the user by the email, check to say that their name exists. Sometimes we have data inconsistencies in our Salesforce, and if that's the case, we're actually creating a net new lead based on the information coming out of Intercom, and we're updating the lead. So here, very simple again, but once we were able to automate this, then we could really stop thinking about like who's getting it, but focus more on customer support and marketing.